The barbecue smelled of burnt meat and cheap beer, smoke curling into a sky too clean for such low-grade cooking. She arrived in armor that glinted like polished chrome, ceremonial straps cutting across muscle hardened by decades of war. Scars patterned her thighs and chest, proof of a life of combat, but here they made her look like a fetish model that had gotten lost on the way to a convention. Every human eye tracked her, not with respect, but with something sticky, curious, and aroused. The father choked on his drink, caught between neighborly responsibility and the kind of fantasies that ruin marriages. His brain ran inventory. Why was a 7-foot-tall alien warrior standing in his backyard next to a tray of hot dogs? Why was she strapped up like she belonged in a dungeon rather than suburbia? Why, goddammit, were his neighbors already pulling out lawn chairs to gawk? She straightened her back, shame slicing her gut. In her world, scars marked honor, armor marked beauty. Here she only felt naked. Humans whispered. One man muttered, "Halloween came early," another coughed, "Bondage queen." She felt heat crawl up her throat, ashamed in ways she had never known on battlefields. These mortals with soft bellies and bare guts looked at her like she was a dirty joke. Her shame deepened when a middle-aged neighbor shouted, "Hey buddy, you order that from Amazon or Vegas?" Laughter cracked around the grill. The father wanted to sink into the grass. His hand tightened on the beer bottle like a weapon. He should have said something noble, but his tongue stuck. And then came the voice. Small, innocent, piercing the haze of mockery. "So beautiful, Daddy. She looks like Wonder Woman." The backyard fell silent. The alien froze, confusion swallowing her shame. Beautiful? That word she knew. That word she had never expected to hear from a human child, pointing at her scars, her tusks, her armor. Beautiful, not freak. Beautiful, not monster. The neighbors shuffled, embarrassed. A couple of men coughed into their beers. A few women tilted their heads, reconsidering. Wonder Woman. It reframed everything. The alien breathed deep, chest rising, armor creaking. Her shame didn't vanish, but it warped into something sharper: curiosity, amusement, the faint tremor of pride. She bowed stiffly, misunderstanding human etiquette, and muttered, "Your spawn speaks truth. I am warrior of 20 conquests." Which, of course, sounded like bragging about an outrageous sex life to suburban ears. The crowd chuckled nervously. One woman whispered, 20 conquests? Damn, I've only had 3. Laughter bubbled up, contagious. The father tried to redirect. She's, a friend visiting. Cultural exchange. His words collapsed under the weight of innuendo. Cultural exchange, a neighbor echoed, making hip-thrust gestures behind a beer can. More laughter. The alien mistook it as approval and raised her battle spear in salute. "I will join your rituals. Where is the pit of fire? Where do warriors devour the flesh of fallen beasts?" The dad, panicking, pointed at the grill. She stalked toward it, inspected the sizzling burgers, and snarled. "Your beasts are small, weak, soft. They die quickly." Then she grabbed a hot dog with her gauntleted hand, lifted it to her mouth, and sucked it down in one obscene swallow. Silence lasted 2 beats, then the backyard erupted in laughter. Half horrified, half impressed. Someone muttered, "Bet she does that with," and cut himself off before his wife elbowed him. She heard only approval. The shame in her chest cracked again, letting out something wild and dangerous. She squared her shoulders, emboldened. "You mock scars, yet your spawn sees beauty. Perhaps your spawn is wiser than your males." The dad's ears burned. The daughter beamed. Neighbors whispered feverishly, their laughter buzzing with innuendo. The alien didn't know it, but the shift had happened. In one careless child's compliment, shame turned spectacle. She wasn't a freak anymore, she was the star of the barbecue. She tested her new status by striding to the folding table and picking up a can of beer. She bit into it, foam spraying her chin, dripping down her armor. A couple of women gasped, then laughed too loud. "I can see why he's hiding her in his basement," one teased. The alien wiped her chin with the back of her armored hand and declared, "Earth drink is weak, yet intoxicating. I demand more. Beer cans appeared like offerings. The crowd shifted around her, drawn in. A few men cracked jokes about her spear being compensating. One woman yelled, "Swing it around, honey, show us what you've got." She obliged, spinning the weapon with blinding speed, narrowly missing the patio umbrella. Everyone screamed, then cheered. The shame that had knotted in her chest at the start was gone now, replaced with a dangerous joy. The father stood frozen, trying to figure out if this was cultural diplomacy, a porn shoot gone wrong, or the beginning of an HOA complaint from hell. His daughter tugged his hand again, repeating softly, "So beautiful, Daddy." This time he heard it differently. Not innocent admiration, well, yes, innocent, but it hit him like a gut punch of truth. She was beautiful. Terrifying, absurd, alien, but beautiful. And the neighbors? They were already half drunk on her presence, ready to crown her queen of suburbia. The next week the alien had somehow become the neighborhood's latest obsession. She no longer carried herself like a shamed warrior but strutted down the street in her armor with the same casual confidence suburban dads had when wheeling out trash bins shirtless. People waved. Some whispered. Others just stared like they were watching a reality show. The women from the cul-de-sac invited her to a wine night, partly to gossip, mostly to see if the alien would confirm their husbands' fantasies. She accepted, believing it a council of warriors. They handed her a glass, which she swallowed in one gulp, then bit the stem off the wineglass, chewing like it was candy. The women screamed, then laughed until they spilled Chardonnay on their leggings. Conversation turned to husbands, cheating, snoring, erectile failures, and the alien leaned in, describing her people's mating rites. First we oil the bodies, then we wrestle until one yields. Only after 3 broken bones may penetration commence. The suburban moms gasped, then cackled, picturing their own men lasting less than 5 seconds against her. One woman shouted, "I'd pay to watch my husband try that." Everyone roared. Meanwhile, the dads in the neighborhood weren't coping well. Every backyard barbecue turned into a flex contest. One neighbor mowed his lawn shirtless 3 times in a single week just so the alien would see his chest hair. Another bought a motorcycle he couldn't afford. The alien misread all of it as ritual displays of submission, bragging to the daughter, "Your father's clan offers themselves for my pleasure daily." The girl repeated it loudly at the grocery store, where half the town overheard. The alien's fame peaked when she joined a game of Twister at a block party. She didn't know the rules but understood left hand read as attempt to dominate the nearest human. Limbs tangled, bodies collapsed, and when she landed on top of 3 men, the crowd howled with laughter. One woman yelled, "Careful, she's going to crush your pelvis, oh wait, you'd like that." The men didn't even deny it. Then came karaoke night. She marched to the MIC, pounded her chest, and unleashed a war chant that shook beer cans off tables. The sound was a mix of death metal and orgasmic screaming. People clapped, screamed, some covered their ears, others waved lighters in tribute. A drunk neighbor begged for a duet, so she scooped him up mid-song and spun him like a toy. His wife yelled, "That's the most action he's had in years." The crowd nearly fainted with laughter. Word spread fast. The alien was not just beautiful, she was entertainment, scandal, sex symbol, and nightmare all in one. Neighborhood wives teased their husbands, whispering, "She'd snap you in half," then asked each other quietly if maybe that wouldn't be so bad. Husbands joked nervously about cultural exchange programs, laughing a little too hard, eyes darting at their wives. The father struggled most of all. Every event, every laugh circled back to him. "So, buddy, when's she moving in? How's your intergalactic girlfriend? Think she'll give us lessons in spear handling?" He deflected, choked, denied, but his red ears told everyone what they wanted to believe. The daughter's innocent comments made it worse. At the block party she tugged his arm and announced, "Daddy, she sleeps in your room, right?" Gasps, giggles, and outright howling followed. The alien heard none of the mockery, only honor. In her culture a warrior adopted by a child became family, bound by fate. She stood taller each day, flaunting her scars like jewelry, laughing at human jokes she only half understood, basking in the strange warmth of suburban attention. Where once she felt shame, now she felt pride, and where once the neighborhood was dull, now it pulsed with the scandal of having an alien sex goddess trimming hedges and singing war songs on their lawns. By the third week, things had escalated from quirky novelty to full-blown suburban hysteria. The alien had stopped asking questions and started making assumptions, and every assumption turned into sexual chaos. She declared the father her chosen mate because his daughter had called her beautiful, and in her culture a child's blessing was binding. The dad tried to explain that Earth didn't work that way, but it was hard to argue when she was polishing her spear in ways that made the neighbors bite their lips. She began flirting shamelessly, leaning close whenever he grilled, whispering phrases like, "Do you wish to test the strength of my thighs?" or "My people bond by grappling in oil until exhaustion." The father choked on sausages more than once, trying not to imagine what grappling would mean in his small bedroom. One night she cornered him in the garage, insisting on a trial mating. She stripped down to her scarred skin with the same confidence suburban men had when showing off fishing trophies. He stammered about propriety, neighbors, and his weak human spine, but she was already straddling a lawn-mower, beckoning. "Come, show me how Earth warriors mount their beasts." He nearly passed out, muttering, "That's a John Deere." Word of their bond spread like wildfire. Wives teased their husbands, suggesting joint custody of the alien for training. Husbands joked nervously, though some wondered out loud if alien insurance covered pelvis reconstruction. A few men volunteered for sparring sessions just to be thrown across the yard. One even bragged about his bruise in the office, calling it a love tap from the galaxy. Sex wasn't just subtext anymore, it was suburbia's open secret. The alien treated intimacy like combat, lifting the father like he weighed nothing, demanding rounds that left him crawling to work the next day. Neighbors overheard through the thin walls and congratulated him at the mailbox with backslaps and crude innuendos. "So, you wrestle her again last night. Need us to spot you next time. Careful, buddy, too much intergalactic exchange and you'll need a replacement hip." Dark humor leaked into everything. At a book club, she misheard 50 Shades as 50 Blades and offered to demonstrate with her sword collection. Half the women swooned, half begged for lessons. At a dinner party, she misunderstood swingers and nearly organized an actual combat tournament in the living room. One neighbor shouted, "Wrong kind of swinging," but by then the alien was already shirtless and oiling up her arms. The daughter's innocent remarks made it worse. At the grocery store she tugged her father's hand and asked, "Daddy, did you let her ride you like she rides her war beast?" The cashier dropped a jar of pickles, and 3 women in line nearly fainted laughing. At school she told her teacher, "My new space mummy broke Daddy's bed last night, but it's okay, he likes it rough." The father almost died of shame when the principal called. The alien, oblivious, grew prouder every day. She believed she was elevating the human male to galactic glory, boasting loudly at neighborhood gatherings, "He lasts 7 thrusts longer this week. Soon he will earn my clan's respect." The women clapped, the men groaned, and the daughter asked if there were medals involved. Every interaction spiraled into innuendo. She complimented the mailman's sturdy package, which he dropped instantly. She asked the pool guy if his hose extended further, nearly giving him a heart attack. At the gas station she declared loudly, "I enjoy filling my warrior's tank until it overflows," and the attendant quit on the spot. The father lost count of how many times he muttered "kill me now" while also secretly basking in the thrill. No PTA dad had this problem. No middle-aged bachelor had an alien Amazon calling him her conquest. He hated the gossip, the jokes, the public humiliation, but at night, when she climbed on top of him with a grin that promised both pleasure and injury, he admitted to himself that shame was a price worth paying. By the 4th week she was no longer a visitor but the unofficial mascot of the neighborhood, a towering alien in battle bikini mowing lawns and hauling groceries while men tried not to drool and women whispered about sharing her on rotation. Shame was a memory, now she thrived in the absurdity. She barbecued steaks with a flamethrower, drank beer like mouthwash, and joined poker nights where she kept winning by threatening to break kneecaps. No one dared complain. If anything, they begged her to host the next block party. The father, however, lived in constant contradiction. By day he endured jokes about being intergalactic gigolo or space daddy. By night he was crushed beneath a goddess who called their sex combat cuddling. Neighbors clapped him on the back with crude congratulations, wives teased him in grocery aisles, and his daughter innocently announced to strangers, "Daddy wrestled the alien again last night." He stopped trying to explain. There was no explanation left that didn't sound like porn. The climactic block barbecue sealed everything. The alien arrived carrying 3 kegs under one arm, declared herself keeper of Earth's pleasures, and led drinking contests that left men vomiting in hedges. She belted war chants into the karaoke mic, half the women screaming with laughter, half wiping away lusty tears. At one point she joined the suburban moms in a drunken strip-off, armor clanging onto the patio as the women tossed bras onto the grill. The dads nearly had strokes, but no one turned away. She crowned the daughter her royal witness, announcing before everyone that the child's compliment had transformed her life. "Your spawn named me beautiful, and so I remain here, queen of flesh and laughter." The girl clapped, not understanding half of it, while the crowd cheered like a cult welcoming their high priestess. By midnight the alien was tipsy, sitting on the roof with a keg between her thighs, shouting crude blessings at passing cars. Neighbors took selfies they'd never show spouses. Someone shouted, "She's ours now, boys," and the entire block howled with pride. The father dragged her down eventually, muttering that they'd both be banned from the HOA. She kissed him in front of everyone, long and loud, and declared, "This human is mine. His pelvis may break, but his spirit will endure." The crowd roared. The daughter clapped again, delighted. Later, in the dark, she wrestled him into bed, knocking over lamps and breaking the frame again. He groaned that he couldn't take much more, but she laughed, whispering, "You are stronger than you know, Space Daddy." Even exhausted, humiliated, and sore in places he didn't know could ache, he found himself smiling. The neighborhood had changed forever. Where once there was dull gossip about lawn fertilizer and car leases, now there was legend. The alien queen who came to Earth, felt shame, and left the suburbs scandalized, aroused, and worshipful. She had found beauty where she least expected it, and the humans, horny, awkward, ridiculous humans, had embraced her with open arms and dirty jokes. For the first time in her warrior life, she felt not just admired but adored. For the first time, the father felt like the luckiest, unluckiest man alive. And for the daughter, it was simple truth. She tugged his arm one last time that night, repeating with a yawn, "So beautiful, Daddy." He could only nod, because damn it, the kid was right.